Okay. So, thank you to Mulberry for putting the slides together. We flipped a coin to see who would speak, and I won. So, the next version of BITS we are working on very hard. It's going to be based on the latest version of JATS, which right now is 1.1 draft 3, or 1.1. We're not going to wait for 1.1 to be final because we're going to get this out as soon as we can. We'll be talking about what as soon as we can means in just a minute. The big news here, and I should have a sound effect, is that BITS 2.0 will not be backward compatible with BITS 1.0. Now, for most of the things that you have, it will be, but we'll get into some details here. The question and answer model is being reanalyzed based on actual usage, and some work is being done on appendices. Oh, I have to press a different button. Okay, so BITS 1.0 is being used. We've heard about it some this week. Comment form is there. I don't know how well this is advertised. Maybe we. Okay. Okay, we'll see about advertising a little bit better. The working group has been working very hard so that we knew we had a deadline of today, so we wanted to have something to report, and fortunately we've got something to report. The real things that we're working on are questions and answers and appendices in books. And let's see. We've come up with some new elements. We had people who were using BITS who had long lists of names and addresses in there, especially in front matter, but even in some regular book content. And we had pretty lively discussions about whether a name is part of an address or whether an address is part of a name. And those two sides couldn't agree, so we came up with this new container element called name address wrap. We came up with serif because you can't really have a sans serif without a serif. And let's see. And then we got into questions and answers, and people started tagging questions and answers. And the model that we put together kind of in our minds started to fall apart when people started using it. And we realized that multiple choice questions, or I've been corrected about this, questions with multiple choice answers, because there's a difference there, I don't see it, don't really offer you 4 answers. They offer you 4 options, and one of them is the answer. So that's being changed. So we're disambiguating question, answer, and option. That should help things a little bit. Explanations have grown. They used to be paragraphs. Now they are entire sections. Maybe they're G-bosses. I don't know. But they can float around in content like questions and answers can. Answer sets, labels, and titles, nobody worries about that. Attributes will change. The big takeaway is question and answer will not be backward compatible. Some other things that are equally exciting. The count elements will now take content. We've put some more metadata in a lot of other elements. And sections and display quote, labels and version, section meta. You can read some of that. What else do I like? Footnote groups have been added to in a bunch of places. Ref list and front matter. These, of course, are not things that are going to break your backward compatibility. A trib group is allowed now inside Fig Group, only because there's no reason why it shouldn't have been, except that I guess we didn't pay attention to Fig Group. And then the attribution model has gotten richer, so you can do more there, including citations. I believe that's the end of the slide. So if anybody has any bits, let me give you a little spiel about BITS. BITS right now is an NCBI project, which means it is not a NISO project. BITS is an extension of JATS that we are running from here. Now we have a group, an advisory board that essentially makes all the decisions on it. We run it a lot like the JATS group, and we have a lot of the same culprits on both groups. I think that sometime in the future we're planning on moving BITS over into NISO, but the reason why we wanted to not throw it into NISO right away is so that we could be agile and make these changes really rapidly as we figured out what had to be in the book model, and once we nail down what we think is a really solid, useful model, then we'll look at formalizing things. So, any questions? Yes, sir.
Paul Donahoe, Macmillan Science and Education. This is a bit cheeky because I'm not part of any part of the publisher that produces books, but I was interested in your Q&A section where you can have multiple answers, only one of which is the correct answer. I've seen examples where there are more than one correct answer allowed in a multiple choice. Is that something that will be allowed in BITS?
Well, that's because I didn't say it right. Okay, if you have a multiple answer question, then you have options. More than one of them can be correct, and the model will handle that, but they're not all answers.
That sounds very cool.
Anybody else? Yes, Laura.
Have these suggestions made their way back to the JATS committee for addition to JATS?
Why, that's an excellent question.
I'm on both.
There are some suggestions that come into the BITS group where we say, oh, that's a great idea, and we also should submit those to JATS. The first time the BITS group got together, we had about 15 or 20 that I had to type into the form and get into the JATS group. So as these models expand and get more interesting, we'll send them to the JATS Standing Committee. The JATS Standing Committee can decide if they're appropriate for articles. The one that a lot of people want to push up there right now is question and answer. I'm really glad we didn't push question and answer from the version that we have in 1.0, because then we'd be facing a backward incompatible change in JATS now. Yes, Debbie.
As Secretariat, may I report that there are between 7 and 9 requests already that we said that we would submit to the JATS working group as well. And I think several more will come in from this weekend, because people came up to me and said, why isn't that in JATS? And I said, oh, it's in BITS.
Yeah, well, we're doing some cool stuff in the BITS model. So, yes.
Mirko Jans informs. In one of our previous slides, I saw these explanations. Just I was not sure, is that meta language or object language here? Are you talking about some tag or in general explaining?
Oh, this is explanations related to questions and answers. It's a tag.
Because when I think along the lines what Debbie was presenting on the tutorial about proofs and these statements, that would be something useful to be in use there. That can be anything from one sentence to sections. Because if you go that formal, as I realized it was gone, I did not check yet exactly the new DTDs about that. Mm-hmm. That's something that should be tagged, because people often, and I deal with that for 4 decades, so I know a million examples,
okay,
that people say state formal theorem, then give some short explanation, just you know where you are, and then they start the formal proof.
Could you send me, or send us some of those examples?
I'll find, yeah, because
Not
I-
a million of them, but,
Yeah. But it's quite a common thing, I will find, but it will be nice when we already tag everything, to know that this is explanation, not part of the real proof.
right.
If the writing is more formal, which in pure math it typically is.
Yeah, that would be great to see. Okay, thank you.